Cast, a weekly live show where we explore the power of culture and leadership in business. I'm Ryan McCarty.
And I'm George Rogers, and we go live every week to learn from each other and hear from other experts about how to effectively champion our team members and ourselves. So join us live every Wednesday on our social networks or subscribe. You can listen to Apple, Spotify, and Google Podcasts. Now, let's champion your culture.
Hey, what's
up?
Number 50. This is our 50th episode, George. I'm real excited to be with you, man.
Man, it has been a great journey. It doesn't feel like 50. We're 2 episodes away from saying, hey, this has been a year-long journey.
Wow.
But number 50 is special. And like I said, man, it doesn't seem like it's been that many episodes, but I guess when you do it every week and you get to do it with who you love, with a good audience of people that you really appreciate and are grateful for, time flies, they say, when you have fun, right?
Oh, I know. And it's been wild, man. I mean, the first couple episodes when I kicked it off and didn't even know where it was going, and I had a black blanket behind me that kept falling, and I was trying to go live, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna make one of the first actual real live shows on LinkedIn. You know what I'm saying? Like this is real live. Like today, Scott was coming in, and he woke up with a most massive migraine, and he's laid out right now. So he was our special guest, not able to come. It's been like a crazy adventure. So if you joined us today, Scott is not here, but you still have George and I. It's going to be an unbelievable, really a week where we've been talking about just going from engagement to fulfillment. I'm excited to jump into that, but I want to welcome everyone that's joined us today. So many great people that join us every single week on Champion Your Culture. Yeah. George, always sponsored by none other than the Culture of Good.
Yeah, so we appreciate everybody joining. Hey, listen, as you're joining in, wherever you may be watching or listening to on your platform, we will appreciate it if you just go ahead and like, share, rate, and then don't forget to always turn on the notification bell to make sure that you know every time that we are going live, each and every Wednesday, same time, same place. We're here for you. So we appreciate everybody joining in today, and I'm excited. I'm excited, Ryan.
Yeah. So what's been going on for you? You've been at HR summer school, right?
Yeah. So speaking of HR summer school, we got people going back and forth. So HR summer school day 2 is today. Yesterday we had an incredible time. Over 3,000 people registered. Awesome. We had over almost 6,000, I believe it's at 6,000 comments. And so the chat was going live for 2.5 hours, and it's back and better today. We got even more guests yesterday, really, not necessarily on purpose, but with purpose. The conversation with all our speakers, including yourself, everybody loved you as well.
Thank you.
Talking about really culture and fulfillment. I know we're going to talk a little bit about that again today on our podcast and kind of go deep into that. But yesterday, the overall theme, the word that really came out of everybody's message and the audience, and this is not necessarily from the speakers or even myself and Ben, but the word of the day yesterday was authentic. Be authentic. Yeah. Like, don't try to be something that you're not. Like when you feel fulfilled, you're able to just be you, right? When you're engaged in something, you don't know, am I trying to be engaged because I want to be like Ryan? I want to fit in with the crowd, get in with the crew. But when I am fulfilled and I have my sense of purpose and I'm able to champion my purpose, you got the plug there?
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, you got HR summer school going on. You got culture good stuff going on. You've got a book coming out, right? Like that. What's the date on the book? Isn't that tomorrow?
The book is dropping midnight tonight. So it's live right now. And so I'm encouraging everybody, I'm asking everybody to wait until tomorrow to order that midnight. We got a 24-hour challenge and a goal to potentially become a bestseller with this book. So
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Spread the word. You can find it on Amazon. So it's going to be on Amazon, the Kindle version as well. And a special treat for all of our podcast people out there. And for those who are attending HR Summer School, we're going to be giving away a couple of books. We can give away a couple of books today as well for that as well.
Let's do it. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
so at
fun.
the end of the day, we'll give a couple of books away to some of our audience people, and this is probably what I do. Let's make it a week-long challenge. Let's make
Okay.
it a week-long challenge. Next Wednesday, we're going to select somebody who has shared this post, tagged us in the post, and hashtag champion your culture podcast. Right.
Yeah.
So you got to share it. You got to like this video. You got to share it on your platform, and then tag us in there, and we will follow with that. Well, some lucky winner will win a book. And so,
I love that. I love that. Champion your purpose.
yeah, champion your purpose.
Because every single one of us have one, right? Every
Right.
single one of us have something on the inside of us that allows us to impact, make an impact, do something that is meaningful, purpose
Yeah.
filled. I always love this idea of fulfillment, right? Like
Mm,
we talked about. You brought up the word of authenticity that came up, and when Ben was talking to me when we did that interview, and he was like, "What of the five promises really stands out to you? What's one that you want to mention?" I go straight for authenticity.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because if what you're doing at work or what you're implementing, culture programs, any type of new initiative that's taking place within the business, if it doesn't come from a place of authenticity, and if it's not genuine, and when we say authenticity, we're not just talking about just another culture, program that's a platform that you just throw into the mix of everything else that you're doing.
Yeah.
Um, we're talking about having a culture where people feel it, believe it, and behave it most of the time, right? So, like when we think about culture and having authenticity, if what you're doing in terms of culture work, engagement, whatever you want to call it, employee experience, customer experience, community outreach, all of the things that are contained within a culture of good effort, if
Yeah.
what you're doing within the business is not done authentically and it's not genuine and from the heart, people know that.
Yeah.
I think early on when we started launching a culture of good at TCC, and we'll get Scott Moorehead in here in the next couple weeks. when he was walking into the studio, man, you should have saw. I thought he had pink eye, man. He walked around the corner like this. I was like, man, what's wrong, brother? So we'll have him back. But when we first started Culture Good at TCC, um, there was skepticism, right? There's some distrust. Why? Because people are accustomed to flavor of the month initiatives, right? Us tweaking with the business, with the culture, with the leadership, and always trying to introduce something new, but never sticking to anything. Never really saying, if this is what we're going to implement, how do we implement it in a way that's successful, rather than saying, well, that didn't work. Well, it may not have worked because we didn't work it. And it may not have worked because we didn't believe in it, right? And that's what we talk about within culture. That culture is how most people feel, believe, and behave. If you don't believe in the initiative that you're working toward, you can't translate that to your team and expect them to be inspired, to put in their full effort or go above and beyond in order to accomplish things, because you're essentially building a culture of distrust. This happens within organizations that send out satisfaction surveys, but they never follow up with any action. It's not authentic. There's no authenticity to it, and because of that, it doesn't allow for there to be the ability to build anything, because you're actually building on distrust. You know what I'm saying? And this is George speaking with his mute on. If you're
You're
listening.
live. Yeah, I wasn't speaking right. I was talking to the people back in the back on audio. They
Gotcha,
had me
gotcha,
muted.
gotcha. You're not even in the show, are you?
I'm in the show of the show
Yeah.
over there. So no. When I think about it, and the authentic portion of it, I think about this a lot, because we spend most of our day, majority of our time, is at work, right? and this is what we do. And so it's important for us to feel and get that sense of fulfillment. I think the first time I heard you talking about this, it really grasped my mind because it challenged me to think beyond what does it mean to be more than engaged, right? What does it mean when I can be, right? There's an option for me to be more than just engaged. There's an option for me to do more than just connect with my peers and my workers. And so fulfillment and engagement are these two different concepts that are often used interchangeably, but they're so far different when it comes to what fulfillment is. When I hear you talk about fulfillment in the workplace, it's more than just satisfaction. It's more than just a connection, right? We talk about that sense of belonging and what that means. But having employees that are fulfilled at work, and the quote that you usually tie in with this with your keynote as a keynote speaker. I know you did a great job in Vegas. Shout out to that.
Oh, Vegas was wild.
But it's bringing your soul to work, right?
Yeah.
Being able to do so, being able to have permission to do so, and not feel guilty and or not feel ashamed, or what are my leaders going to think about me? But when you create a culture of good and you align those in with your values and who you are, it's that positive impact that you're able to embrace, and having a sense of autonomy and control over not just my work, but my purpose and why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at how purpose is so tied into our strengths, our values. I always love, back when it was back in the day when I was a pastor, those days, and we'd have people I would really want to work in kids area, like, but the kids didn't like them, and it was just like, or like, you'd always have somebody that wanted to sing in a choir, but it was like, I don't know that that's really what God has for your life. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Not only do they want to be in the choir, but they want to sit right by the mic, right? You got a boom mic and they want to be right under you.
Yeah. I always used to tell people, yeah. I used to tell people, if you sign up for kids ministry and you walk into the kids wing and all the kids run the opposite direction, we're going to find something else for you to do. Or if you get on stage and sing and it's always off, it's like, our purpose is tied into our strengths. Our purpose is tied into our values, into our ability, and also, and I would say this, not everybody's strengths are the same. And that's what shows us that our purpose is different, right? A vacuum and a broom have two different purposes. They have different functions. They work in the same area and they can work together. But because of the components of how they're made and what their strengths are, you wouldn't want a broom to try to suck something up, right? Because there's no mechanism to do so. And a lot of times our frustration with not finding our purpose stems from not knowing what our strengths are, not knowing what we're good at, not knowing what we can bring to the table that allows for there to be for things to get better for others, right? Like, it allows us to be able to go in the direction of doing things, but we understand that we're human beings, not human doings. We have to start authentically with what you said, bring our soul to work. And this is the idea that we're getting to in terms of going beyond engagement to fulfillment. And we've talked about this before, but it came up a lot in HR summer school yesterday. And I'm glad that you wanted to bring this, because if we were to look at the idea of being fulfilled, I always think about that in the sense of my soul being fully filled. It's like, am I fulfilled? Do I feel fully filled? When I'm fulfilled in life, it allows me to show up for others. It's what you always talk about. I can't pour out what I've not first received. What I don't have, I can't give. right? And so when I'm fully filled, what that allows me to be is not just satisfied with work. It's what Ben talked about yesterday. You can be satisfied at work, standing behind the counter at the gas station, twirling your hair and chewing gum, and you're satisfied with your paycheck, satisfied with work. And it can feel like a very privileged thing to sit back and say, work is more than just for a paycheck. And it is a very privileged thing, but also in the midst of working for a paycheck, we can craft our purpose and passion into our work and look for ways to make an impact and do something fulfilling through our work, so that we're not just engaged, but we're feeling ourselves being filled up, even as we do good for others, even as we help that customer, even as we do the outreach to the community, as we help a peer, we're feeling fulfilled. And that's really one of the qualities of being a leader. You know, so many people say, well, leadership is lonely, and leadership is this, and leadership is that. I'll tell you, leadership is very fulfilling, but you have to come from a place of authenticity and being genuinely in a place where you're leading people and not just managing. That's the frustration to fulfillment scale. Frustration is in the management space, fulfillment's in the leadership space. It's not that leaders don't get frustrated, but most of the time while we're getting frustrated, we've moved into a management mindset rather than a leadership mindset. Leaders see frustration as opportunities for creative ideas and for opportunities for new things, you know?
When you talk about frustration, Ryan, I always say frustration is a great sign, right? If you're frustrated about something, it's a sign of investment. Right. I remember back in 2008, when the stock market crashed, I wasn't part of it. I didn't have a clue about the stock market, right? I wasn't invested in it. So while I had some friends that were ticked off, frustrated, mad, I'm just living my best life. Why? Because I wasn't invested in it. And so I always enjoy leaders and employees who are frustrated at work, because it says that they're invested. They care. Right? They care about something about this place, whether it's they care about them and their time. It can be selfish reasons, right? But in general, you care about something. When you're frustrated, it's a sign of investment.
It means you care.
And you care. You want something better than what it is.
That's good.
So when I think about that frustration, I enjoy it. Not necessarily say, "Ha, you're frustrated," but I enjoy it. It means that you're invested, and that at that point when you're invested, we can connect. Right? We can have a conversation. It's those who are not invested that kind of worry me. And when you made the comment of leadership is lonely, I was that person. I was that person 10, 15 years ago that thought, man, it's lonely being a owner operator. It's lonely being somebody who's running a nonprofit and in this world. Who do you trust? Who do you talk to? Leadership isn't lonely if you're connected and you're fulfilled. Right. I don't feel lonely anymore because I'm connected to people that I trust, that I know cares about me, and not necessarily care about me for the profits. They care about me because I'm a person. Right. And so when you care for people more than you care for profits, and I know you talk about that a lot, and we talk about that in Culture Good, a ton, is that you have to care for people. When people feel like they genuinely, authentically, there's that word again, are cared for, loneliness doesn't happen, right? In those natures. Loneliness is a sign of disconnect, but when I'm connected, loneliness is gone because I'm connected to a greater source, a greater power, a greater resource. And it may not be something that I'm motivated to do today, but I'm here and I'm showing up because I'm connected to somebody who inspires me, right? I don't need the motivation. That's the inward thing that I provide for myself. But the inspiration I get to show up sometimes is because I'm connected to something beyond myself. And then it empowers me to do so, even when I don't feel like doing it myself.
I love the idea of being connected to something beyond yourself, because usually what that means is you're connecting in that moment to something deep inside of yourself. Because it's your soul that compels you to do that. So I want to get back to that here in a moment, but I want to take a short break, and we're going to do a come on, man. And we're looking at ways of not having a healthy culture today. We're going to do, for the first time on Champion Your Culture, we're going to do the top 10 of how not to have a great culture. And this is going to be a come on, man, brought to you by Culture of Good. All right, number 10, not to have a great culture. Talk real loud on the phone so the whole office thinks you're always doing important shit. Actually, George, I'm gonna have you read these. All right, I'll put them up. You read them. Kind of
All
like
right.
the David Letterman show. All right, you ready?
All right, here we go.
All right, here we go.
Number 9. Send your cat Dwight dressed up as you to work, hoping no one will notice.
Yeah,
we were going to do that with Scott. Nobody knows what Scott looks like outside of the promotional stuff. We could have been Scott today.
Oh, that does look a lot like Scott, other than the tie, the collar, and the cat, and the hair.
Oh, wow. Number 8. Fall asleep during Monday meetings because you skip sleep to watch Rick and Morty.
Yep.
Number 7. Offer proof that aliens are real in conversations you have with clients. That'll get you to sell some stuff right there. Number 6. Troll your workers, your co-workers, Facebook with political posts and hashtag America. America, people. Number 5. Before I get to this, man, those hands are really small. It really disturbs me. Number 5, when introduced to a new hire, scream like you're being reunited with a lost family member.
That's not how to introduce a new. Yeah.
Number 4, eat all the donuts in the break room before anyone gets any for themselves.
Yeah, I know. Like that's me. That's me.
Number 3, schedule a meeting to discuss how the office should run with less meetings.
Yes, absolutely.
A meeting for the meeting that shouldn't be a meeting. It should be a Number 2, throw a house party for clients and expect them to bring all the fun.
Yeah. And number 1.
Wear sunglasses indoors at work.
That's not to have a great culture. And that is, come on, man, brought to you by Culture of Good.
What if you can do more with your leadership team? What if you can empower them to make a bigger impact faster? As leaders, we know that we have to be good at a lot of things. But what if we can do less and let our teams do more?
That's exactly where Culture of Good comes in. We offer solutions for every step of the culture and leadership development process, from strategy and workshops to buy-in processes, so that you can empower your employees to fulfill their purpose and make an impact on your company. We believe in empowering people, and that's why we're offering 10% off our Culture Champion certification for any team who mentions Champion Your Culture when they reach out to us on cultureofgood.com. Reach out to us today. Hey, George, I'm really excited because July 11th and 12th, we have Culture of Good Champion certification happening right here in Indianapolis, Indiana. Any of you that are out there that would like to be certified in culture, this is a certification that you can take to any workplace. It's a process that you'll learn to engage your employees, customers, and community all in one streamlined, fulfilling effort that's built on those 5 promises we always talk about: caring, driving business, inspiring, connecting, and what we're talking about today, being authentic. So make sure that you get on cultureofgood.com. You can see that scrolling at the bottom of your screen if you're watching live. If you're listening, again, that's cultureofgood.com, and register today for our Culture Champion certification, July 11th and 12th. Can't wait to see you here, George. It's going to be an awesome time with everybody that's coming.
Yeah, when I encourage everybody that can make it to really show up. When you talk about, as we're talking today, team engagement that works, becoming fulfillment within the workplace, I think about the numbers that really impacted and the value that it brought to Verizon TCC, where 82% of an employee stated that Culture of Good was a contributing factor for them choosing to work at TCC, right? 82% were retained during that. When it comes to the recruiting standpoint, 44% it says employees that stated Culture of Good was a contributing factor for choosing that word, right? Choosing Culture of Good as a place.
Pretty wild, huh? Yeah.
Yeah. And then the 33 that sustained was really, that blew my mind, where employees stated that it gave them a sense of fulfillment, right? So
the 93%, yeah. 93% saying they were fulfilled. So what does that mean? right? You and I did a lot of nonprofit work I was in nonprofit work for 20 years, and you about the same. And we both put in a lot of work that was very meaningful, fulfilling, purposeful work. It wasn't easy work. Like you mentioned earlier, it was difficult, but you understand the difference between somebody that shows up with their heart to work and someone who doesn't. Have you
Yeah.
ever been to a wedding and you go to the reception and the DJ's back behind the DJ booth, and you go to one wedding and the DJ's back there and he's just kind of playing the music
Yeah.
and like, and then you go to another DJ and he's like, yeah, duh, duh, duh. Yeah, he's dancing the music, he's loving it. What's the difference there? The difference is somebody's bringing their soul to work. You're
Yeah.
like, you can bring your soul to work as a DJ. Hell yeah, you can. You can bring your soul to anything that you do. It's showing up, knowing that you can make an impact. And also, I would say this to those that are leaders out there: when you're inspired, you have inspired team members. When you're not inspired by your work, when you're not fulfilled by your work, when you're not living out your purpose, that translates to your team.
Yeah.
So when we talk about team engagement's interesting because years ago people were married to their job and they got a watch at the end of 50 years or whatever long they worked at GM or whatever it was. And 30 years ago we said, well, people don't want to get married to their work anymore, and so let's just call it engagement.
Yeah.
Let's see if they'll get engaged with us. And what we've moved into is less engagement than it is, as we've talked about now. It's this ongoing fulfillment. It's the new employee engagement is employee fulfillment.
Yeah.
The new employee satisfaction is employee fulfillment. We have an employee fulfillment survey. Are your employees fulfilled? And if they're not, it's important to create space where they are given permission. And this is the power of the culture of good. They're given permission to care.
Yeah.
Really bringing your soul to work is that translates to being given permission to care, not just about your work, but also about how your work impacts others. The type of effort that you put in tied directly to a sense of purpose and passion. And we've said this before, George, that people don't own the business, they own the culture.
Yeah.
We want an ownership mindset. We've got to build a culture that people want to own. And if it's not bringing fulfillment to them, what is it bringing? What is it offering? What's in it for me? If we can create workplaces that are incubators for fulfilling experiences, even in manufacturing, even through, we're working with steel manufacturing. Shout out to Wiley Metal in Marion, Indiana. Their business is growing. We're doing coaching with them and workshopping. And Mike Wiley came to our 2-day certification a couple sessions ago, and he's just taken off. Listen, George, since Mike was here, they have a whole leadership development program. They have strengths. Their top 13 leaders know their strengths, and they're living them out with each other as well as peers and teams, and it's cascading. And they've started a culture good movement where they have quarterly good going on. I mean, they went bonkers. They went full, and they're seeing the results of a culture of good. And it's because it's authentic. It's because it's given with a sense of heart and passion and soul. It's bringing your soul to work, man. That's what brings that fulfillment in our lives. It's knowing our purpose and living that out daily.
Yeah, and I encourage everybody. I think it's something that is necessary for every place, right? Will this fit for my company? I hear this a lot when I'm talking about what we do and the value that culture of good can bring to organizations. But will it fit? And my thing is that, are there people in your organization, or are there people with your company? Because where there's people, there has to be a sense of fulfillment. There has to be a sense of belonging, especially in this day and age and this time that we're living in, where people have this heart, like they understand the heart matters more than ever. Like they care, they want to be cared for, and they want to be at a place that cares for them, that has their well-being in mind, right? And not necessarily just from a mental standpoint, but in all aspects of their life. They want to know that they're connected and that they're cared for in those areas. And so, is culture good for you? Is creating a place of belonging, creating a place where it's more than just being engaged but fulfilled? Is that for you? The answer is 100% yes. Yes, it's for your organization, and yes, it brings value and impact. But like Ryan said earlier, it only works if you work it, right? When I remember I started saying that line, it'll work if you work it. When I had this desire, Ryan, to play the piano, right? I wanted to learn how to play the piano. But it won't play unless you work it. Like, the keys are not just going to turn on. Even if you want to play a melody that's set in there, you still have to work it. You still have to push a button. You still have to put some effort into that. And so, is culture good for you? Culture is going to work if you work it. If
I love this, man.
And really, really get the work. And it's not for your employees to do. They can own the culture, but if you want that culture to be good, leadership, it rises and falls on you.
So where do we start? And we're gonna close out with this, man. Where do we start? Start practicing. Start somewhere. Start doing something. Have a conversation with each of your team. What are you passionate about? Do some stay interviews. What do you love about your job? How can I be there to support you? Show up. Be vulnerable as a leader. Have that conversation with each one of your team members. Start from that place and build relationship, because what we're doing is doing more than just building a business, folks. We're building people. And it requires really authentic leadership to lead them to a place of fulfillment. And so practicing fulfilling experiences in little moments will lead to a great movement. Turn your moments of fulfillment into a movement of fulfillment. And that's how we start to do that, just through the practice. You gotta get on the piano and you gotta start playing. George, I love you, man. I know you got some speaking to do here in a little bit. Hey, we're all sending George some good vibes. Don't forget, midnight tonight, stay up late, buy the book. Champion Your Purpose by George Rogers. Going beyond living a life of sameness to finding a life of meaning, man. I mean, that's it. Fulfillment, right? And if you've gained something out of this podcast today, make sure that you like us, subscribe, tell a friend, tell an in-law, tell an outlaw, tell everybody that you know. We love you. And as always, we will see you back next week on Champion Your Purpose. Hi, friends. Thanks for joining us on Champion Your Culture podcast today.
We're so excited that you're here and want to invite you to connect with us. You can watch the show weekly on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, or LinkedIn, and listen anywhere you get podcasts.
Subscribe today to get new relevant content each week on how to champion yourself and your team. Thanks again for listening to Champion Your Culture.